Great. So you've got this tour coming up, which you're just about to announce in September. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Why now? Because you went on tour with this particular show in the US last year.
Yes, I had a slot of 2 months last year, but I couldn't do the European bit. And getting a lot of offers from Europe, I found that maybe do the UK alone, because I'm doing my own movie shooting the year end and all that stuff.
And what's different about coming to the UK and playing to audiences in the UK as opposed to elsewhere in the world?
The UK audience is pretty unique because my first big show in the UK was definitely Bombay Dreams. And after Bombay Dreams, it was so huge that time. The name was all the buses, and so there's a kind of bond between people here and my music. And so coming back is very nostalgic. You have a lot of people who have grown up on that music, and I've grown up on a lot of artists in London and the UK. So,
do you find then that audiences react differently to you and your music over here? I mean, is there a kind of difference in the way that they respond to your music?
yeah, if you take the UK, I think there's now first generation, second generation, third generation kind of people, and some of them have grown up with different kind of music, and in the US and the UK are definitely slightly different. Here in the US we have a lot of South Indians too. Here it's a mix of Sri Lankans and Punjabi, Hindi, North, and of course Tamil and Telugu, Malayalam.
And do you enjoy sort of travelling around and going on tour? I mean, is that something that you like doing?
When it goes well, of course. Should I repeat the question for you? No, right?
No, that's fine. So, what are the challenges of when you're touring? I mean, are there things that crop up which are, difficult to sort out, or different from the work that you do on your own?
It used to be very difficult for me because all my shows used to be very big and dancers and orchestra. Now we found a way to make it more minimalistic and enjoy on stage rather than being tense about something. So everything's more freer. So we have longer versions of songs, we improvise, and also more interactive with the audience, I think.
I was going to say, I was watching some of your shows from the past, and that's something that came across, the difference between the way they'd been kind of set up and the amount of musicians you had on stage, and also the kind of theatrics and stuff.
Yeah.
So you prefer it when it's now a kind of more intimate. So, I mean, that is the name of your tour, right?
Yeah.
So is that part of it as well?
Yes, actually, and people definitely seem to relate to this more because they see more a musician in me than a circus performer.
And how does you're saying that there's kind of a different reaction or interaction with the audience? I mean, with a smaller show, I mean, you're still playing to massive audiences.
Yeah, I think as a composer, so I'm a kind of mixed, a composer, producer, and singer, musician kind of thing. So when I've composed songs where other people have sung, so I go back to my keyboards playing a part, or I might not be there on stage. So these used to be there, but now here I'm there on stage almost for every song. So before that it used to be like, okay, 50 dancers have come in, let me go take a break and come back. So that's not happening anymore. I'm there on stage, I'm playing something or talking something, telling about a song.
Do you have a favourite memory from touring? Is there something that really sticks out for you in your mind?
There's so many memories actually. First of all, I come from South India, and little Chennai, and my studio is probably 1/4 the room. And whatever you make there, and when you see the results of what music can do, how people can come together, it's almost like a shrine when you see them all cheering for the same song. They all look different, but they know the same song. And there's a kind of unity there. And it's so nice to see joy in people. Because now the world is full of fear and hatred, and so in a way it's beautiful to come back, and I'm very grateful for the love.
And do you feel like touring is a way of addressing things like that, of kind of making people happier, of bringing something to
Strangely, most of my tours are in very of these very negative situations, and when we did this show, we always felt that this is a need of the hour, and even now I think it's, in a strange way, I want to bring cheer to people who are coming in with all the split and Brexit and all this.
That is a problem. It's a kind of difficult time at the moment.
Yes.
When you're away touring, do your family travel with you, or are you separate from them?
When I'm touring, my mother used to come for every concert, and her prayers used to be the inevitable thing for me. And past 2 years, she's been sick and bedridden, so I just get her blessings. And of course, my kids come in when it's possible. My wife comes sometimes.
And how do your kids react to the show? I mean, are they watching from the side and kind of?
Yeah, they love it, and even if they watched it 3-4 times, they still like to watch it, and they can't get enough of it. Yes.
And do you detect a kind of musical sensibility about them as well? I mean, are they drawn to what you're doing? And
yeah, I get feedback from them. You know, when I find one of my songs as a ringtone, then I get okay, they like it. So it's very.
And what about writing? I mean, is writing difficult when you're on tour? I mean, this kind of tour you've got coming up, it's not too many shows, but when you've been doing other tours, is it harder to write while you're on the go, or does that actually kind of influence your creative kind of process?
I write anyway, so I kind of when I'm writing, I detach myself, as long as there's a peaceful place and I have my space and I'm not disturbing the next room guy who's shouting, "What are you singing?" in the middle of the night. So. In fact, one of the biggest hits this year, which was Talli Pavade, was, I think, written on a tour bus, when I was touring the intimate tour. And just put headphones and sing on the laptop.
So do you need to be kind of, in silence, in a kind of...
Yeah,
yeah,
zoned out.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. What are the sort of songs on your tour when you're playing to crowds that get the biggest response? Because I know there are some that tend to be more the ones that are more well known in a sense, from Slumdog Millionaire and.
There are some things. It's very strange because the audiences which come, some of them are North Indians, some of them are South Indians, some of them are Sri Lankans, and some of them are non-Indians too. So each one relates to a song, but then I have to guess what I like and what they would like, they would need, rather than what they want. And then mostly it goes well.
Do you have ones that you go back to that are your personal favourites?
The ones which I perform less is what they like a lot, or ones which are more musical and some of them are unrelated to whether they're hits in the theaters or not, but musically how rich it is. So sometimes we go to stuff like that, which is musically enriching and musically fun to play. And
just going back sort of earlier on in your career, I mean, how did all this kind of kick off? I read that you were originally working sort of on adverts and films in India. How did that spiral to where you are now?
So when I first started, I was just in tune with my director, who was an amazing Mani Ratnam, and he was my guiding force, encouraging, and of course everybody else said that this won't work. And he said, "Don't worry, I like it, you like it, we don't care." So I think I went with that zone over more than 10 years. If I feel something strong, then I would do it and fight for it, in a way, in a subtle way. And so those 10 years were probably the foundation of what people are looking up to. Of course, there are many more things happening now, but the memories of those days are very strong for people. They still keep telling, if a song comes, "Oh, this is like your 90s music." And I don't know what it means, but...
And what's the kind of I guess like the dominant principle behind your work? I mean, is there a kind of guiding idea that goes behind your music, or is it sort of reactive to the different situations that you're in?
I go with my evolvement, and I go with my instincts, and I feel like, what do I want to listen to today? Will I take this record off a shelf and listen to it, or will I feel embarrassed about it? And that's the way I used to think before, and I still want to think the same way. If I find something interesting, and those are my influences, and will I pull this off and listen to it? And am I going back to this mix? Am I enjoying mixing or arranging the song, or I'm feeling bored about it? If I feel bored about it, then work towards what could make it interesting.
So what kind of thing would that involve? If you're feeling bored about a project, how would you go about?
The production changes, or the lyrics change, or a singer changes, an interesting singer, complements the song. Anything which defeats the boredom, or yeah.
And when you're writing for films and you're doing scores for films, how is that process different from when you're writing other branches of music, other types of music?
The good thing about films are, when you do an album, you have to keep thinking, and then you come out once in 3 years or 2 years. Films already have substance of the script and the vibe of the director and all the stuff. So half the job is done, and then you just have to take essence from there. And so of course I accept films which make me do different things, not the same things again and again. So I nudge towards that stuff which would make me work harder or go on a different path.
So is that how you choose your projects?
Yeah.
So that it's something different, something.
Yeah. Something which pushes me to think something else, rather than doing the same thing. Okay, this is the template I have. Let's do another song.
And obviously, you're doing slightly less sort of work with the Indian film industry at the moment, and you're more in demand in Hollywood. I mean, you're obviously, since especially your Oscar wins and your BAFTA wins and your Grammy wins as well, you must be in demand all the time. How do you cope with that?
It's a balance. So the first 3 years after Oscars, I was consciously avoiding Indian movies because I didn't want to get stamped as. So I did Couples Retreat, stuff which you would never imagine that I would do. People Like Us, and then 127 Hours. And then the second half was I dealt with it, and then I started doing $1 Million Arm and 100-Foot Journey. Then of course Pele was Brazilian, and then the Messenger of God, Iranian movie. So now I'm actually working on my own movie, 99 songs, scripting and producing. So it's a whole new different ballgame.
So just if you could talk a bit about that, because I was sort of reading. Is that the first time that you've scripted it, you're producing, and you've written the soundtrack for it as well?
So yeah.
So where did that come from? I mean, is that from?
It's we think the whole world is evolving now in a way where you're all boxed into one thing, and so I was waiting for something to come exciting, but nothing. So I was like, I decided, okay, let me do my own thing. Let me design a foundation to challenge myself, because people love music, but is this what they want? And you're forced to do what comes to you rather than what could be different and all this stuff. So it's a humble beginning. Let's hope it goes well.
And you were saying earlier, when you're sort of doing work for films, you've quite often already got the images, you've got the script in place. But for this film, for your own film, what came first? Was the music first, or was it the kind of images or the ideas?
It's about music. It's like a fairy tale. And then it goes, now the more deeper we go into the script, there are many details which we're working out. And it's about self-discovery, love, art, and the things which are usually only on the surface level. So we want to go deeper into it and create an awakening.
And have you started shooting for it yet? I mean, the director, because I couldn't find out that much about it. It seemed to be. We've
actually done a previs with existing imagery, and we've done probably a couple of songs. But I think it's the most difficult one for me to write music. It's like when you're writing on paper, okay, this has to be like 100%, this has to be 150%. But when you sit down to get what it should be, what is that 100% to defining that is very exhausting. But we're doing fine.
So I guess obviously you feel like a kind of even more, responsible for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that must be simultaneously kind of fun, but also quite.
Yeah, also satisfying the team. Though it's about, as I'm conceiving it and writing it, it's also to see the reactions with other people. It has to become a part of people's lives, not just a soundtrack.
Is it going to be quite different from what some people expect from your work, or is it going to, take some of the stuff you've done before and the various influences, but present something new?
That's all a suspense. But there's a lot of music in it. About music. It's not a musical, but it's about music.
But it's defined by the music then. Yeah, that's interesting. So obviously when you worked with Danny Boyle, and you've worked with him twice, is that right? So Slumdog Millionaire in 127 Hours. Is he someone that you would always work with again? Is he one of those directors where you just think, if he calls, I'm gonna?
Yeah, I think he's that kind of the director where you have to leave everything and do stuff, because creatively is challenging, and he knows exactly what he wants. And the unfortunate thing about working in the West is there are many masters. The director is a master, the producer is a master, the editor is a master. So if the director likes something, it doesn't mean that it's going to get okay. It has to pass through the producer, and the editor will say, no, why don't we try something? Then so you're so. And so when I worked with Danny, I felt like this sense of ownership. Like, I'll fight for this. It's just you and me, and that's a great feeling. First of all, but when you work with bigger studios, you have this constant trying to satisfy everyone. But
do you have? Are there other people that you've worked with who you have that same kind of response to, where you just think?
Yeah, mostly in India it's like that.
Yeah,
mostly in India, unless some things which the directors like, other people don't like. But when the film comes in, oh, that's what you meant, you guys. So that comes in.
And are there directors and other musicians who you haven't worked with yet that you really want to work with? Is there someone right on the top of your list at the moment?
I don't even know, because sometimes amazing people come out of the blue, and I seem to vibe with them and they seem to vibe with me. So I'm open. I'm open to, because the whole new breeders, they know it all, and they're very exciting.
And who do you personally admire? Who do you look up to? It could be anyone, writers or musicians. Who really inspires you in your work as well?
I'm all over the place. Like, for me, if you take Eastern, I love Hindustani classical, Carnatic, and then also Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan Sahab. In the West, I have many. So I worked with Hans Zimmer. Then I met John Williams, and all my people I like a lot. And of course, I had a band with Mick Jagger, Michael Jackson. So in a way, a circle is complete, and now I'm beginning my next one, I would say.
What's it like working with someone like Mick Jagger? Is that a unique experience, surely?
Yeah. The first few hours, I felt like, what am I doing here? I've been put in a room with Mick Jagger and Damien Marley and Joss Stone, Dave Stevens. And it took me a while, actually, to realize. And probably if we do form the band, we do a second album of Super Heavy, it'll be completely different. At least my part will be different, much more.
Mm. And also, he's obviously a new father again, so that's good.
That's very cute.
Yeah. Just going back to when you're on tour, do you get much downtime? Do you get time to sort of, think to yourself? Or is it pretty much all about the tour when you're on the tour?
When I'm on the tour, I'm very tense. I just want everything to be right, and I want my parts to be right, I want my patches to. And I keep rehearsing, I've been warming up my vocals and stuff. Of course, when it finishes, and it's a good news, then we ease out, and we talk about other things, we go out, till then it's at least the first show. And last year I think we definitely had a lot of fun playing for smaller crowds. It was very beautiful. Almost literally looking at them and talking to them.
Really?
Yeah.
So
If anybody's, if I'm singing and somebody's Facebooking, it's like, hey, why do you want to waste your time here? No, I'm sorry, I'm just...
Because surely that must be annoying when you can see people.
But I think we don't know whether they're really doing something else or probably saying good things about us on Facebook.
Would you get people filming it as well, and you're kind of thinking, why can't you just appreciate it in the moment? Or
but that's like a fetish for everyone now. Everybody wants it's like a digital monster which needs to be fed with celebrity photographs or something interesting.
Right, so that must be different from when you talk before, having people just constantly on their phones.
Now it's become a part of life. You have to think that even when you're sick, people are going to take selfies with you.
Do you get that a lot? Do you get a lot of people asking for selfies?
Yeah.
Or so you just generally just go along with it and then...
Yeah, just when I'm tired and exhausted, I get irritated, but normally I'm okay. I verbally say that I don't like it.
Just finally, what's next for you? What's coming up? Obviously, you've got 99 songs. You've got the tour. Anything else planned for after that? Are you working on other things as well?
I'm working on Gurinder Chadda's movie, The Viceroy's House, and we're almost 50% scored.
Very busy then. Great. Well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure speaking. Thank you.